Welcome back to another episode of the MX Endurance Podcast, where we look at everything that's been happening in the world of endurance sports. My name is Tim Ford, and I'm joined by the penultimate legend, the sexy shepherdess, the sexiest voice in triathlon, James Bell. Welcome back to the podcast, mate.
Hello, mate. How you doing? I've got a cold. I've got a cold, mate. A normal, standard cold, and it feels really quite out of the ordinary. How are you, man?
I mean, I feel like sick James is more common form of James than healthy,
Yeah,
fit,
at the
kicking Bell.
moment,
Like,
now everybody's mixing with each other. I've had a sore throat all week, and I'm just feeling, generally run down. It's not ideal, but we are edging closer and closer towards heading over to Germany for sub 7, sub 8, aren't we? So shit's getting real here. How's things your end?
good, mate. I'm packing up. I've got actually people, our viewers on YouTube. Hi guys, can see my bikes behind me. I did something this week, James. I did something that I kind of regret a little bit, but I'm also kind of happy that it's happening. So I've got brand new 808s. Literally, I've ridden 54 kilometers on those wheels. And my friend Sweeney, my physio, my bike guy, he's like, mate, those NSW 858s are pretty good wheels. I'm like, I know they are, Matt, but they're very expensive. He's like, yeah, mate, but you've got a really sexy bike. You could, you should probably have those fancy wheels. I'm like, nah, Matt, like, come on. Excess is not a good thing. I need to be a little bit moderate. And he's at me and I was like, yeah, right. So I ordered a pair of those bloody NSW 858 zip wheels. So they're on my way. But I'll
Did
tell you,
you
mate,
did you do the standard thinking about it in your head for ages, doing loads of research, reading reviews on them, having a couple of beers and then ordering them?
no, it was more just like, yeah, right, like, yeah, let's just do it. But I'll tell
Okay.
you a story. This was actually probably the worst part of my week. So obviously I'm heading off to Germany Sunday, so it's Thursday tonight, so a couple of nights, days. And Matt's been at me being like, mate, that new speed concept, we need to make sure it fits in your bike bag. I'm like, mate, the Scion, however you say it, bag, it fits everything, mate. It's not a problem. He's like, trust me, Tim, I think we should check it. So I'm like, okay, just to shut you up, I'll bring in the bike bag. And it didn't fit. It didn't
Why
fit at
not?
all.
Which element of the bike doesn't fit in it?
I think there's something wrong, changed with the frame on the new speed concept again behind me, where the chainring, the front chainring, hits the bottom of the bag, so you can't actually lower the bike enough to
Yeah.
connect
Mine
the
does
front
that,
axle.
but I just punched a hole. I punched a hole in the bottom in the plate. So
I
I've
was
got a
thinking
hole where the chain just dips into it now. And it works
that
perfectly.
that was what I was going to do, but instead we contacted and they've sent a higher rear stay
Oh, there
for
you
the
go.
rear chain, but I've also got an extender for the front. But mate, I'll tell you what, it was a very stressful. Like I'm flying out in like 6 days, and I got
Yeah,
to get
when
this
do you
shit sorted.
fly? When do you
Sun
fly now?
Sunday evening,
Sunday
Sunday
evening,
evening.
your time. Okay, so that's Saturday, Sunday morning, my time. You're on a plane.
Yeah, people don't care, do they? To be honest, all they care about
No.
is that we'll be doing a whole bunch of content next week in Germany. So we're going to be doing our regular episode. Who knows? We might have some special guests. We'll see who we can
Oh,
rope
we've
onto
got
the
a
show.
special guest. We've got a special guest,
At
I
least
think.
one. At least
At
one.
least one,
Hopefully,
yeah.
hopefully we'll have four if we can. But we are going to be doing some bonus content. But that bonus content is going to be exclusively available to MX Endurance members. So if you want to see what we're up to during race week and see who we can maybe have a bit of a chat to while we're there, uh, you know where to go. I say it at the end of every episode, mxendurance.com/podcast, because James Bell, this podcast is the official podcast of MX Endurance, the world's premier endurance sports community, created by four-time world champion Chris McCormack. James, what's something you like about MX Endurance?
Well, at the moment, it's the MX Endurance community is making me question whether we even need sub 7, sub 8, isn't it? Because we're doing our own sub 7, sub 8 challenge based around the fastest times the members can complete, and we're edging towards sub 8, aren't we? We're edging towards actually being part of the conversation.
8:25 last time I checked, which I think is
There
a
you go.
pretty good time, to be honest, mate. Yeah, what did we do? Our bike has dropped a lot this week. So obviously this month's all about the bike. And again, for MX members listening, if you do your 5K effort, you go in the draw to win a special pair of Magic 5 custom Frodeno goggles. So make sure you do your 5K effort. But yeah, we dropped down to we're at 4:15 for the bike split at the moment or something crazy like that.
No, not
Uh,
doing bad, eh? We're not doing bad.
I
I
just
don't
wish more
even.
people more people should do what I did and just ride. Yeah, I did it in St George from the top of the Vale Loop straight down for 5 kilometers, going as hard as I could, and that was my time. I want to see more people start at the top of Alpe d'Huez, lap, go for 5K lap, and that can be their 5K effort. Like I want to encourage cheating on this to see how fast we can actually get this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't see any problem with that, and we could probably get a sub 2 bike split if everybody went down that route. Eh?
I like this idea, mate. There we go, guys. Where again, if you're listening, you're like, yeah, how can I? There you go. Suffer for an hour so you get to the top about the Swift. Hit the lap button, bomb it down, hit the lap button after 5K, done. That's your effort. Perfect. I love it. James Bale, do you know what else I love? I love the news this week, mate, because there is a lot of stuff to discuss. A lot has happened. A lot is happening. And the first thing I got from an official press release from Sub 7 Sub 8 because the final pacemakers have been announced. Now, it's a press release, so there's a lot, and I've tried to cut out the main parts. So there's all the stuff about blah, 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 blah. But we're going to get straight into it. Nicola Spirig introduced two athletes in her recent episode of Road to Sub 7, a two-time marathon swim world champion and international marathon swimming Hall of Famer, Angela Mora, as her swim pacemaker, and Swiss marathon national record holder, Maya Neuenschwander, as her run pacemaker. Don't say anything about that pronunciation, thank you.
It's fine. I think you nailed it.
Spirig says of Mora, only one pacemaker for the swim leg, but it will be a world champion in 25-kilometer open water swimming. She's perfect in swimming. She's perfect inside in the boys, and she'll be perfect for guiding me and giving me some draft. Her runner is a former training mate, Spirit continues. I was running with her in my first races in 1998, Junior Cross Country European Championships, and she was Swiss record holder in the marathon and was at the London Olympics. So, I mean, we'll go through the others, but let's have a little chat around those two first, mate. Sounds like some quality athletes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a 25K open water swimming champion is going to bring an ability to, you're not going to have top speed swapping in and out if you've only got one pacer, but you're going to have a very consistent and reliable draft across that length of that swim, which is probably what Nicola's going for there. And in terms of the run pacer, someone that she knows well, who she was running with in her first races as a junior cross country European Championships, and the Swiss record holder in a marathon for the London Olympics. I'm interested to know what that time that translates to. Is Switzerland any good at marathons? But yeah,
I know that
cool.
wasn't she? So Nicola was the national champion with like a 2:37
Yeah, it's pretty
marathon at one
banging, eh?
point.
It's pretty banging. So yeah, I mean,
Not slow.
you've got some real quality there, and it's good to see that the pacing team being fleshed out.
The only question I have though is like, I mean, Angela Mara sounds like an incredible swimmer, and I reckon her sighting and those sort of skills would be incredible. But 25K is a bit longer than 3.8 kilometers, and it's almost like bringing if you were trying to get paced to a fast 5K and bringing in a marathon champion. Like, I don't know, maybe the speed. I mean, I did some research about this for something we're doing. Check Phoenix social media this week, and the 10-kilometer open water like champion speeds are significantly slower. Like I think the 10K open water swim pace is like 115, no 110 per 100. And like to me, I would then assume that for 25K, it's probably slower. So that's probably my only. I mean, I don't know. I have literally got zero. I did not know there was a 25-kilometer swimming event, to be honest, because I can't think of that's like a week of swimming for me. Actually, that's double a week of swimming for me. But yeah, I guess that they see the biggest times to be made up will be through sighting and minimizing those sort of errors and a bit of draft. So that'd be good.
I think they probably see the biggest times to be made up will be on the bike and the run.
Mm,
I don't, and what she's probably doing is looking for someone she trusts and can be very, very consistent, reliable in front of her,
yeah.
and not create any issues in terms of trying to swap people in and out. She's
I
just
don't.
going
You
down
can't
a
swap
different.
people out in the swim. You can't swap people in and out. The swim has to
Oh,
be the
can you not?
paces for the no
Oh,
swim.
I thought you
Swim
could.
no
Oh, there you
swim.
go. Shows
There's no
what I
chop and
know, eh?
change. I know
Oh,
because I've been through that rules document multiple times,
yeah, yeah.
many times.
So, yeah, well, then she's just. I would assume she's relying on a relationship more than, and also Nicola in the swim portion. You know as well as me that you've got to pick somebody who matches your own pace.
Yeah,
You can't be. It's like me saying, I'm going to get Michael
me,
Phelps to pace me,
Tim
for you
Forward,
to
for
pace you. I'd
example.
kid. Oh, mate, anyway. Um, because it's pointless. You've got to have somebody that you can work with and you can sit alongside and is a benefit to you. Because if they're not a benefit, then if they're just miles off in the distance or having to slow down dramatically to stay with you, then you're going to ruin that rhythm. You want somebody who's swimming at a similar rate and a similar rate of effort to you.
On to Kat Matthews. Kat's already had a number of her cycling pacemakers pulling double duty as swim and run pacemakers. For additional firepower, she selected South African triathlete Sarah Jane Walker to be a swim and run pacemaker, and British ultra runner and army triathlete Nerys Jones as a run pacemaker. Jones said, I know Kat as a fellow Army Triathlon team member. I've followed Kat since day one and I love her approach to training. I'm totally amazed by what she can do and I'm incredibly inspired by her. I think she's capable of anything. I'm super excited to be part of her Sub 8 project and her amazing team. I'm 100% committed to pacing her on the run and to be there to support her on whatever strategy she will take. Now, I've heard whispers, mate, that Sarah is a pretty good swimmer. I mean, all of her swimmers are meant to be pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. I think. I mean, look, we're a little closer to Kat's team than the rest of them, in terms of
I'm not Christian.
logistics
Christian's my
and.
best friend, so obviously I know everything that's happening in Christian's team.
Yeah, well, second best friend.
Gustav, Tim, James.
And so it's going to be it's cool seeing that team knit itself together, and what I'm really enjoying from the communication and conversations we've both been having with Kat's team is that there is a real team dynamic and
Mm.
a feeling of a bunch of mates going out to do what they do best, and I absolutely love that, because I think you're going to get the best out of a group of people when they really feel like they're pulling together for a cause. And in Kat's case, that cause is also underlined and buttressed a little bit, underlining and buttressing. That's double
Ooh,
support, that is. Yeah.
look out. We're getting
Yeah,
real
yeah.
fancy here.
Yeah, exactly.
Engineering talk.
Yeah, I'll be talking about, piling and stuff in a minute. Buttressed and underlined by the fact that not only are they pulling together for a single cause, but that cause is unique to this event in the sense that Kat was brought in so late. So there's
Mm.
kind of, I mean, not an underdog from a physicality point of view, but an underdog from a, brought in late to try and mix things up to do the event when Lucy Charles pulled out. So I love that, and I love the atmosphere within that team.
Now, I'm not going to give away too much, but I did see Kat's predicted what she thinks she's going to do, what her goal time is for the event next weekend. And boy, oh boy, yeah, it's moving, mate. It's a fast time. So I'll tell you off air, but it's pretty fast. You might know. I don't know actually, but yeah, I can't. I reckon I can't wait for this. It's going to be so good. Let's keep going. Alistair Brownlee has recruited younger brother, triple Olympic medalist Jonathan Brownlee, as well as four-time aquathon world champion and former training partner Richard Varga to pace him on the swim and run. British marathoner and physician Phil Sessamon rounds out his run pacemaker team. The younger Brownlee says, we've obviously trained together since I can remember and raced against each other on some of the biggest days our sport has seen. This is a totally new challenge and another opportunity to do something as a first in the sport of triathlon. Alistair has never shied away from a challenge, and I'll support him as best I can. I'm pleased it's only on the swim and the run, though. Now, James, before we talk too much about this, I think we need to do a little bit of correction because
have we got some? Yeah, we've got to correct the boss man.
We got to correct the boss, because I know that Chris went on the World Triathlon podcast and he was talking about Joe getting dropped from the pacing team because he was on a ride and he got the barn doors
got his doors blown in. And
that was
he
not
couldn't
Joe
hold the
Skipper.
wheel.
It was in fact Jonathan Brownlee who got blown off the back of the bike. Joe wasn't selected because he had COVID. That's the reason that Joe's not on Ali's team.
Yeah. So we need to correct the record there, don't we? Joe Skipper, when he was doing those training rides and those testing rides with the Brownlee team, he very much could hold the wheel, and actually was spent a lot of time at the front of the group dictating terms. So I don't think
very easily.
we need to spread that stop that misinformation from being spread.
Yeah, come on, Macca. What are you doing, mate?
Come on, up your game.
I think two things about this. I think firstly, Richard Varga, I don't think a lot of people appreciate. We talk about Alistair Brownlee, the Olympic champion, two-time Olympic champion, that the amazing things he did at short course racing, and Richard Varga never really gets spoken about in that much. Whereas Richard Varga was the main training partner for those boys, and even though he was at a different country, I swear he's half the that what he did with those guys in the swim was amazing. So I think the Richard Varga choice for his swim is exceptional. Richard Varga is probably the best swimmer in the sport, especially from ITU for a long time. Henry Schoonen up there,
And
Vince Louis up there.
still leading out swims. He's still he's a fantastic
Incredible.
athlete.
We'll talk about him at the championship, the race that nobody
Yeah,
really
too
cared
right.
about. But
And yeah, Johnny Brownlee, I think
perfect. Had
their
to.
relationship is their ability to communicate with each other without talking is
Yeah.
probably one of the strongest assets they've got.
Yeah.
And yeah, Johnny's more than capable of pacing him on the swim. And I don't know what the strategy is going to be on the run. I'm assuming Johnny Brownlee doesn't have to run an entire fucking marathon at the pace. There's going to be some swapping in and out. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think there's an issue there at all.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like those two together will have more miles logged training together than anybody else. Like with the except, I mean, the only person I could think who'd compare would have been if Gustav was on Christian's team.
Yeah.
I mean, they've not trained
Or
together as long because
or
they're not as
or,
old. But
or James Bale on Christian's team because we obviously were very close as well. So
at the
the
time, it's not about the intensity of the closeness, mate. It's about the
Oh,
duration.
okay,
This is
okay,
quantity over quality this time because you're
yeah,
right. Like
okay. So your
as his
longevity
third
over
best friend,
passion.
I can understand how intense that is. No, like I think if I would have been incredibly surprised if Johnny wasn't on this list. To be honest, like I would have actually been shocked. Like it
Yeah,
makes that he'll be able to tell how Alistair is from hearing him, his breathing, from the way his feet are hitting the ground. Like he'll have such levels of communication, and even not on the bike, but watching them on the bike, I reckon he'll be able to gauge a lot based on how Ali looks, and he'll be able to communicate that to their team manager in the car. Like I think it's even if he wasn't racing this, I would have thought that you'd have him there as like some sort of team manager sort of thing because they must know each other so well. But
mascot dressed as a giant something.
that's you,
That's
isn't
what you
it?
should.
I
Yeah,
thought that's
that's
what we
me.
got you.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I thought
That's the
so.
reason I'm going.
Yeah, I
Is
thought so.
for mascot. I'm the
How much
dressed
did
as
you
a
get paid
giant
to
phoenix.
brand? How much did you get paid to brand the forehead like that prime advertising space, mate?
Oh, mate, this is there's still negotiations happening
Ah,
at the moment.
must be
Yeah,
expensive.
yeah,
Price per
yeah.
square meter,
There's a
very high.
few brands interested, but it's got quite a small space, so it's got to be quite a small Hep would fit on there, wouldn't it? Or head.
Manscaped,
Yeah,
the most useless sponsorship for James Bell. Manscaped. Here, I need this Manscaped. They have not stopped email. It's like, go, you're not sponsoring podcasts. Anyway,
Yeah.
Christian Blumenfeld will be paced on the swim by 7-time Dutch national long distance swimming champion Lars Bottelier and on the run by Kenyan marathoner Barnaba Kip Coach, who has run a best time of 2:09:12. On standby, he has another Kenyan runner, Lani Ruto, with a PB of 2:06:34. Kip Coach says, I'm very much looking forward to helping the Olympic champion create history. The project reminds me of what my countryman Eliud Kipchoge achieved with Breaking 2. Yes, the pace is a lot slower than our normal racing pace, but that is not important. What matters is providing Christian with the best pacing strategy he needs to achieve his goal. It is very important to keep the pace consistent and let Christian settle into a nice rhythm on the run. Mate,
I,
2:06 marathoner.
I love it. I mean, look, there's the for what I'm about to say doesn't take away from the quality of the running on display here and how good these guys are going to be at running a certain pace and setting a pace and bringing that consistency to Blumenfeld. I get it, and it's going to be fantastic. But I love how easy this is going to be for them. Do you know what I mean?
They're
Just
like walking along, Christian's like, shut up, stop talking to me.
yeah, and they're just like running backwards.
You're
having
doing
a
really
chat.
well, Christian. Keep going, mate. Keep going. Just think of, and just here's the other thing. Like, think about a Kenyan runner in motion, how graceful and amazing they look running fast. Christian is a lot of things, but he's not a pretty athlete. He doesn't make it look easy. It's going to be a stark contrast between those two, I reckon. But mate, the fact this is the thing I was really excited about was seeing the sort of caliber of athlete
Do you
that
think?
these
Do you think it's going to be like
us two running
watching?
next to each other?
No, like watching a lion chase down a gazelle or something. In terms of the different sort of
a lion
techniques.
chasing down a warthog, mate, or something. Maybe. I can say that I'm his second best friend.
Yeah.
But again, great. I'm really excited for this. It is, like I said, we touched on this, but there's a real bike focus, and I think that doesn't surprise. For
No,
three of the
it
teams,
is.
there's a real bike focus, so.
There is a real bike focus. I wish to God Blumenfeld wasn't riding that monstrosity, but he is probably, and it's gonna. I mean, my deep love of a team time trial and the aesthetics and the beauty of those riders working together as a unit, peeling off, and the pace line working and rotations.
Yeah,
It's one of my favorite parts of pro cycling is watching a team time trial.
yeah, it's
When that
good.
little bike's going to come pedaling through, it's going to ruin it for me, mate. The aesthetic
Have
is
I
going to be blown.
have I told you one of my plans for a content piece I'm going to create next week is I'm gonna literally ask every pro cyclist there their opinions on Christian's bike. I'm just going to show them a photo of it and be like, "What comes to mind when you see this bike?" Just get
First
their
word, yeah,
reaction.
word association. Christian's bike.
Ugly, hideous, ugly. It's going to be fun. Going to be good. Robbie
Yeah.
McEwen. I'll do the same thing with Robbie McEwen.
And
Be
you'll
like,
have your
mate,
TT bike with you, won't you?
yeah.
Obviously.
I'm
With your nice
gonna.
posh with your posh new wheels.
No, the posh new wheels come after the event.
Okay. So
But I
we'll
will
be
be.
able to ride our bikes around the track, I assume.
I don't know, to be honest. I assume so.
Yeah.
James Bale, the beauty of the internet is that it is a wonderful thing that connects us, but it is also something that fucks up sometimes, like it just did for us for the last 5 minutes while we tried to work it out. So we are back, guys. We don't know what we were up to. So we're just going to move on to the next part of the show. And that is talking about a race that I might have had a bit of a go at last week. And I stand by my comments, James Bale. Did you watch the championship?
I didn't, I'm afraid, mate. I had a busy weekend last weekend because, I've been away for a while, various trips we've been on, and I didn't feel it was fair to sit down at home and watch a long triathlon race. So I didn't. But I assume you were glued to it, were you not?
James, is that the real reason you didn't watch the race?
That was my. No, I didn't watch the race because I must say, um, not quite to the level the couples championship doesn't interest me, but the championship doesn't particularly interest me. It didn't excite me as a race I wanted to go and watch.
I did turn it on for a bit. I watched maybe an hour of it, and even for myself, I just went, "No, this ain't it. I'm
No.
not feeling this."
What were your issues with it?
It was just, I don't know. Like it was the broadcast. I mean, Belinda Grange is an incredible broadcaster, but I think we are getting to a point where we're a little bit spoilt now. It was literally just the front guys, the guys, with occasionally going back to the girls, and it was just the leaders just riding. Not much, no idea of real splits or anything like that. It was a bit flat, and then the course was so complicated. And as soon as Gustav hit the front, which was pretty quick, I was like, game over. Like
Yeah.
Gustav is like, I think you look at that field and you take Gustav Iden out of it, and you're like, yeah, it's a pretty good field. You put an athlete like Gustav Iden in, and I've talked about this a lot. That upper echelon of real professional athletes, and there's 10 at most. It shows in a race like this. Like Gustav Iden had a flat tire in T1, and he still won the race quite easily. Like it was, yeah. I just didn't interest me, mate. And again, I really think it's weird that they keep like one of the things I find weird is it's like on gravel and then it's on grasses, then it's on a road and then they're turning this, and you can't really work out where anything is and stuff. And it's a bit
No. And he had a flat tire. It wasn't a puncher, was it? I mean, it was more of he got to T1, have the swim, and his tire was flat and had to find a track pump.
Yep.
Yeah.
Correct.
So
in the women's race, though, something that is worth noting. Like we've spoken a lot about Ashley Gentle and our expectation Ash Gentle is going to do incredible things in the sport. But fucking hell, mate, Emma Pallant-Brown was like 10 minutes down off the bike and ran herself in a second place. She ran down everybody except Sarah Prasala. Like it was incredible. Like that was something. And I mean, I didn't watch it because I didn't see it, because when I turned it off, Sarah Perez was at the front and Lucy Buckingham was in second and Emma was miles behind. But I did see it. I was like, shit, that's some good running. Like,
yeah, man. I mean, there's a guy on this podcast who's been saying Alapampa. How have I been saying it when I can't say
what's
it?
he been saying?
Yeah.
What's that he's been saying? I heard gibbery gobbledygook then. So
Emma Pallant-Brown is a athlete that, when on, has incredible abilities to do stuff on the run. And I pick her quite often because of that, and it's good to see that ability sort of fire here. Yes, she didn't have the ability to win the race and take it away from Sarah Perez, but what a run, eh?
So I mean, we've got a summary here from John Levinson at Try 24/7. I don't really want to go through it, if I'm honest. I think.
Should we just give the results and have a chat about it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few bits and pieces I want to talk about, but yeah, first place Gustav Iden 3:43.44. Second place, Richard Varga, 3:45.05. Again, incredible performance for Richard Varga. Like, I think a lot of people expected when Gustav went, Richard Varga would get caught and dropped and wouldn't feature. He hung on really well. Third place, Thomas Steiger from Austria. This is a guy that everybody was saying was the only person in the field who would be able to keep up with Gustav. He couldn't. Fourth place, Mickey Tagholt from Denmark, 3:46.56. Fifth place, Carl Smith, 3:46.56 as well. So that was a close little race. But I wanted to talk a little bit about Carl Smith, because Carl's a guy that we have both been watching with like a lot of interest, because Hayden Wild told us about Kyle 18 months ago, and he was like, watch out for this kid out in New Zealand. He's going to do things. And then we tried to get him in the arena games last year, and then he started with training with Frodo, and he's an athlete that we both have always had a real like eye on. And we saw him last year in Elsinore, a race that we're both meant to be heading to this year. He sort of went really well, faded at the back, and then we saw him in Lanzarote, where he just missed out to Leo Berger. This is 2 weeks after St. George, mate, his second ever Ironman. And I think to do this is like a serious race, mate. Like, it's a serious performance from a guy, to only be 2 and a bit minutes behind, or 3 minutes, 3 and a bit minutes behind Gustav Iden 2 weeks after an Ironman. I think it's pretty good, mate.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely up there, isn't he? He's someone that we've been watching and keeping an eye on and talking to, and now he's starting to really get these performances on the board where you're like, there's a lot more to come from this guy in the future. And
young,
yeah, he is young, and that's the thing. I do like, as much as I love the journey that some of the pros go on up through the short course racing, trying to get to Olympics and then moving on to long course. I do love to see someone who backs their talent at long course and just goes, this is what I want to do, and they do it.
I believe that Kyle still wants to go to the Olympics, though. That might have changed since the last we spoke with Hayden, but Hayden was saying to us that Kyle wants to go to Paris.
Well, then there you go. He's balancing both. He's balancing both angles, isn't he? And he's doing a fairly good job of it. I don't know.
But I mean, you just talk about the story. Like, on a chance, went to his girlfriend's a pro cyclist, went to Girona, and just meets Jan Frodeno. Suddenly, he's Jan's main training partner. Like, maybe he won't go back. Maybe he's on this thing, and I reckon he's gonna have he's got pretty good prospects at it. Like, I reckon you heard it here first on the MX podcast. Not really. Carl Smith.
Have we just retired him from short course?
He's done. He's done. Although the curse of the podcast, mate, as soon as we don't pick Daniela Arish, she wins. So maybe it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
The women's race, Sarah Perez-Sala's on one at the moment, mate. Like, she is on a red hot streak.
She totally is. She really is. She's something we're going to talk about later when we get down to another section of the show, is her her evolution and her climbing up the ladder. And she's definitely on one. And for her to get a result like this, which is, the best result she's had at the championship so far, banging work.
Now, what I do want to, is there anything about this Emma Pallant-Brown run? I just wanted to, anyway, we'll go. Sarah Perez-Sala, first place, 4:08.19. Second place, Emma Pallant-Brown, 4:10.12. Third place, Lucy Buckingham, 4:11.05. Fourth place, Fenella Langridge, 4:13.01. Fifth place, Ash Channel, 4:15.10. So that's what I mean. Like, they basically got, Emma Pallant-Brown and Ash Channel basically got off the bikes together. And she ran 5 minutes faster than her, mate. Like,
I mean, yeah, it's quite the performance from Emma. And I love to see it because, when Emma tried to step up to the longer distance and realized it probably wasn't for her, and she stepped back down to the short, I really like to see the, she's got skills, and I love it.
I should remember this. I talked to her about this when we had on the podcast last year. Her 5K PB is like 13 something. It's like 13:40 or something.
Yeah.
Fucking ridiculous. Like, Hayden trying to qualify for the Olympics is like 13:13 or something. And she's like, it's mind blowing. I mean, she makes racing in the heat look so hard. Like, she's possibly the worst athlete in the heat I've ever seen ever. But mate, when she's on, like, she is world class. And
needs to get herself a white tri-suit. That would sort the heat issues out.
Would it? Is that?
Yeah.
I was thinking about this on a complete tangent. We talked about it at the start. Well, is Christian Blumenfeld the most dorky triathlete in the world? Like, does he just not give a fuck because he's got the calf socks, he's got the white see-through tri-suit, he's got that fugly bike? Like, is he the biggest dork? He's the incredible athlete, But is he the biggest dork in triathlon? Like, is he crossing so many of those unwritten rules that you're not meant to do as a triathlete? He seems to be ticking them all off.
Oh, without
So is he the
question.
dorkiest triathlete?
Yeah, I'd say I've just awarded it to him. Even if he didn't realize it to this point, we've just awarded him Christian Blumenfeld, dorkiest triathlete out there.
I love him. Again, I'm his second best friend, but I think that's why we're allowed to say it, James. Because I was thinking, he's like, seriously, see-through white tri-suit, calf socks, that bike, I think is it's almost as bad as Ventum. Not quite as bad as Ventum. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, the challenge, championship, whatever it is, happened. Yeah. Anyway, Flora Duffy, mate. The next piece of news, and this came out last week, but I wanted to talk about it in the context of the rest of the season. That's that Flora Duffy missed Ironman 70.3 Chattanooga because she tested positive for COVID. Now, I got this little summary from Rumi Louise von Schoenveld from Tri Today. Good website if you guys want to just get little snapshots of the news. I use it a lot. And she said, well, my race is over before it even started. Olympic champion Flora Duffy was supposed to race her second middle distance at Ironman Chattanooga, but COVID got in her way. I've been feeling slightly under the weather the last couple of days and decided I should do a COVID test to rule that out. 2 positive tests later, ... really sad. I was looking forward to racing over the 70.3 distance, she continues to say. I've put so much work into the TT bike in recent months. The road to St. George just became a little tougher. I'm doing okay, she says, about the COVID-19 symptoms. My symptoms are mild, but my team and I decided it was not worth risking medium or long-term effects. So, James, obviously not great to hear another incredible athlete has got COVID, but there's a few things I wanted to talk about this. Firstly, Leeds is, 2 weeks away, where you'd expect to see Flora. She was there last year. But what does this mean, for the fact that she is trying to go to 70.3 Worlds this year? Do you think we're going to see her have to really shift things? Do you think that might get put on the back burner? Like, what do you see this doing for her season now?
Well, I mean, firstly, it goes to show COVID's still out there, isn't it? And people are still getting it, and we know that. We know that well. And it does have an impact. If you get COVID, you get quite sick. But it's good to see that it does seem to. We got to a point where people seem to be able to get it, not really know they've got it, to do a test just in case and find out they've got it, and they'll be like, "Oh, fucking hell, I've got it." As opposed to the implications of a year or so ago, where it was quite incredibly serious issues were coming out of it. So it's good that we've reached that point. Do I think this will affect her later in the year? Hopefully not, mate. I mean, hopefully, she's vaccinated to the hilt and she just gets over this and doesn't have any long COVID issues. It might mean that Leeds is slightly blunted for her because, in the lead up to a race like that, you're going to be doing your final preparations and your final tweaks. And instead of doing that, she's going to be recovering from an illness.
I think I'm more not necessarily the long-term effects. I guess I'm more talking about she's probably assumed she's going to go to Chattanooga. She's going to pick up that slot to 70.3
I see what you mean. Okay, you're talking
and then she's
about
just going to go back to WTCS racing. I guess how is she going to have to change her year?
Yeah,
now?
okay, I see what you mean. So you thought she was just going to bank the slot, WTCS, then pop up at 70.3 Worlds. Jobs are good. Yeah, I think she will have to alter her year, obviously, but an athlete like Flora Duffy, I don't think she's incapable of just going back to WTCS, then surgically selecting a 70.3 somewhere in the world and going and qualifying.
She's gonna win. She could win 70.3 Worlds.
Yeah.
Like, God Almighty, the thought of Flora Duffy racing 70.3 Worlds.
It's cool, eh? If you
mate,
talk amongst yourselves for a second, I'll be too.
Third time's a charm, James Bale. We've changed platforms. We're now on Zoom because we usually use what's called Zencaster. Seems to be having some issues tonight, but we're committed to the content, mate. We're going to get this out, and we are going to pick up where we left off, which was the fact that Ironman Chattanooga 70.3 happened over the weekend, and 2 Americans won it: Jason West and Jackie Herring. I got this from Tim Warrior at Tri Today. Jason West was already in the front during the swim. He only lost 19 seconds to Ben Canute, who swam fastest of 24:17. Now, it's saying here 2.25 kilometers. I'm not sure if that's an issue with the course or if it was a bit long or whatever it is, but 24:17 was his time, and came out of the water together with Eric Lagerstrom, Brennan Smith, and Lewis Oritz. Right behind them was a group with some big names, including Tim O'Donnell, Rudy Von Berg, and Steve McKenna. On the bike, many came together, all together in pursuit of Canute. His lead did not increase, but it still took some time for Canute to be caught. In the end, a few exciting things happened during the bike and a front group of 10 men. So a few exciting things happened, James. We're just not going to find out what those exciting things were. Led to an exciting half marathon, but it was West who took the lead almost immediately and did not relinquish it. Andre Lopez and Matt Hansen were in close race for a long time and battled for the silver and bronze, a minute behind West. When West crossed the finish line and won the race in 3:37.15, it was only 56 seconds before Hansen claimed second. Lopez slumped mercilessly in the closing stages. In the end, it was Von Berg, 2:37 behind the winner, who took the bronze. In the women's race, the eventual winner, Herring, started the race a little less energetically when she came out of the water after 26:41. Holly Lawrence was already 1 minute 17 out, and Grace Alexander, Megan Foley, and Paula Finlay were also ahead of her. On the bike, however, things were soon put in order, and Finlay and Herring rode away from the other ladies and closed the gap to leader Lawrence, and thus formed a front group of three. The leading group stayed together for a long time into the last few kilometres when the bike pace appeared a bit too high for Lawrence. Once back in T2, the British athlete had lost a minute on Finlay and Herring. During the first few kilometres on the run, Finlay also began to lose time, and Herring and therefore was already laying the groundwork for her victory. During the run, nothing changed anymore in the battle for the podium, and when Herring claimed victory after 4:02.35, she built a comfortable lead over Finlay, who finished after 4:06.16. Lawrence came third in 4:09.23. So that's an absolute demolishing in the women's race, particularly. And in the men's race, Jason West, again, we talked about Colin Chartier last year. We talk about those athletes gaining momentum. Jason West is that athlete to me, that American athlete this year that we're really starting, I'm starting to see his name on podiums and tops of podiums a fair bit. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think, like you say, the women's race was a little bit of a demolishing. I saw an Instagram video that Holly Lawrence put out of her going through an aid station, just chonging on those drinks. It was really quite amusing, just like slamming these drinks into her face. It was funny. Go and check that out. But yeah, certainly demolishing on the women's side, and like you say, on the men's, West is definitely an athlete that we need to keep an eye on because you're starting to really see things happen there, right?
Yeah. What's worth shouting out too, great athletes, but Tim O'Donnell, I saw was his first proper race back. And mate, what's he, 10,000 years old at the moment? He was 3:42 or something. He's not fucking about. I was genuine. I saw the post. I was like, oh, Tio's still around. I hope he's. I don't want him to be like one of those older pros who just sort of making up the numbers. And I went, no, he's still very competitive. 3:42 is motoring. And Rinny, again, Rinny 41 had two children. She was fifth in the women's race. So the calf race, the O'Donnell / calf race are they're still a force to be reckoned with as well. So again, Holly Lawrence, I'm a bit curious as what's going on with Holly. It's been a while since we've really sort of seen her fire. I mean, it's 6 years since she won that world championship, and I don't know. I'm curious to see where she's at a bit, because it is a little bit oh yeah, we're just going through the motions. That's not. I don't mean to say that. It's
it'd be nice to see her back at the top, fighting for world championships and fighting for for the sort of results that she is well and truly deserving of, because she's a high quality athlete and an incredible performer. So I think it won't be long until we see that again.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, Chattanooga, interesting place for a race. I'd like to go and do that one day, to be honest.
Yeah, I know a few people here who did the World Championships when they were there a few years ago, and they always speak highly of it as a race event organization and location.
I've said it before. I love racing in America, so I'm pretty keen to go do another one.
Yeah.
The next one, I know you don't like riding there. Again, North Carolina, you'll never get me on the roads in North Carolina ever again, ever. But St. George is okay. This next one I like, and this comes from John Levinson at Tri 24/7. Again, the great man. Great website, guys. Always go to Tri 24/7, subscribe, like them, follow them, click on their links, give them all the support. We need more companies doing what Tri 24/7 do. It's also worth noting, I don't know if you saw this week, man. I meant to put it in, but I forgot. Triathlete magazine is done. There's no more published, printed triathlete magazine anymore. It's a purely digital platform.
Yeah, it's the way the world is moving, isn't it? To an online medium, and you're probably going to get more of a readership like that. And then these decisions are being made because people aren't buying physical magazines as much anymore. The only time you'll ever get me buying a physical magazine is at the airport, mate, if I've got a long flight and I want something just to read. But it's
support
a shame,
the websites.
Isn't it?
Support the websites.
Support the websites from a nostalgia point of view. Buying magazines and getting your information from it. But the modern world isn't built like that anymore, and people don't do it.
I'm aging myself.
Are we sounding old? Yeah.
No, I was going to say, because I know that 220 Triathlon did an article about me, and I was really stoked to be in a triathlon magazine. And now I'm like, has that aged me? Have I dated myself now? Because there's a magazine article about Tim Ford. It's like, what's a magazine? Uncle
What's a
Tim.
magazine?
Yeah,
Yeah.
what was that? Anyway, back to the article. So again, the little spiel was about go to websites like Try 24/7 and do what you can to support them because we need them. Like we need them in our sport, and I think Try 24/7 are doing the best coverage our sport has at the moment. But that
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
the article
And
is
buy the
good.
subscriptions and
Yeah,
things, and but pay the money so that you can get the information, because otherwise triathlon media will
it'll be us.
disappear. We don't
It'll
want
just
that.
be us, and we'll have to do the actual work ourselves. And I don't want to do that. I'm happy just
Yeah,
to
I
read
know.
the news that people put together for
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
Anyway, the article is something that I like to hear, and that is that Gustav Iden on his Kona plans. Gustav Iden is still a short course athlete at heart, but he is heading to Kona in October. Despite his middle distance success, Gustav has no plans to turn his back on short course draft legal racing. I know a few of his competitors are going to be unhappy to hear that, Jimbo. Yes, Paris is definitely on my mind. At heart, I'm still a short course athlete. I don't know what it is about short distance that makes it more fun, but I really, really enjoy the short distance racing. But I realize now that it's a bit too much of an ask to do the World Series racing over the summer because most of them are either sprint or super sprint. To go from Ironman training for half a year and then doing Kona, even by Norwegian standards, that's a little bit crazy to do a sprint in the middle of that. Kona 2020 for Gustav, absolutely. From no plans to go to Kona later in the year to leaving the door open, Gustav is seemingly now set on making his Ironman World Championship debut this coming October and defending his 70.3 Crown 2. For now, I have my eyes set on Kona, St. George, and then luckily the last two World Series are Olympic distance in Bermuda and Abu Dhabi, and they have a lot of Olympic points. So hopefully I'll be in shape to take some points there, and then next year I'll have a full season of collecting Olympic points, and then we build for Paris in 2024. Yes, mate. How good is this?
Yeah, yeah. I talking about supporting websites, I extracted this section from a much longer interview with Gustav, where he talks about, everything in triathlon. He talks about the Norwegian Federation. He talks about the Norwegian success. He talks about their training, etc., etc., etc. So, go and read that full article. But I thought for the basis of this podcast, this is the interest of the juicy bit, mate. We're going to see Gustav Iden going to Kona, and I love to see it because that's, And mate, Gustav, man, I love you, dude. You're a legend, but just stop with the short course stuff and come and dominate long course for a while.
I know.
Give it up. Why are you bothering?
As I said, I know a few people with the short course will probably be like, "Fuck off, Gustav. Just go do 70.3." Because he's, like I said, to me, he's the best 70.3 athlete in the world at the moment. Like that's why I was sort of touching on with the championship. As soon as you see him on a start list, and I know we criticize athletes for doing this, I do it. Like I'm just like, oh, Gustav's racing. It's Gustav. Like nobody's going to beat Gustav.
Yeah, indeed. And you've got to have a hell of a distance on a run of a 70.3 to keep Gustav behind you.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because like we're both huge fans of the Norwegian boys, but like Gustav has missed races because of injury, or sorry, not injury, sickness. But he seems like unbreakable. Like Christian has had those wobbles. He had the Dubai race. He had maybe one other. I can't remember off the top of my head. Whereas Gustav seems to be flawless. Like I don't think even when he came second to Christian in Bahrain that year, he still broke the world record. Like he's a flawless middle distance athlete, mate. And I mean, even that.
Yeah. He seems to be made of rubber, doesn't he? He just bounces along.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to have a struggle when it comes to you watch him doing what he does. And he doesn't. Christian looks like he's fighting the world when he runs. Brownlee looks like he's on the edge of a calf or Achilles injury. Gustav looks like he's just bouncing along, happy as the day is long.
Yeah, it's true. Mate, again, I'll tell you, that was the one thing I did enjoy about the championship is just watching Gustav run because, like, honestly, anybody ever wants to know how you're meant to look running, just Google Gustav Iden, and that is it. That's the photo that would be in the dictionary because he makes running look so good. So, mate, again, I just think Jan Frodeno, Alistair Brownlee, Christian Blumenfeld, Gustav Iden, Patrick Langer, Joe Skipper, Lionel Sanders, Sebastian Kienle, Braden Curry, mate. Kona's going to be something, isn't it? It's going to be one hell of a race.
It's stacked, isn't it? It's I just hope they all get there healthy and we see a race unfold like we wanted to in St. George. I mean, we still saw a hell of a race in St. George, but it wasn't the lineup we were expecting or hoping for. But first things first, let's get Alistair Brownlee through sub first, shall we?
Well, speaking of the lineup and the sub 7, sub 8 commentary team has also been announced for the event next weekend. So they've got some pretty impressive names in the commentary booth, mate. They've got a selection of experts and some play-by-play commentators. The experts they have roped in a 3-time Tour de France green jersey winner Robbie McEwen, 4-time triathlon world champion Christopher McCormack, heard of that guy, and 2018 Triathlon World Champion Vicky Holland, with play-by-play commentary by Will McLeod, the voice of Super League Triathlon, and Craig Hummer. Now, James Bale, we also know there's a few extras who'll be popping up during the broadcast as well, but I think this is a pretty good commentary team.
Yeah, there's going to be a few extra voices popping in and out. We know that because we were part of lining some of it up. But you're definitely going to get some high quality information coming out from the people on this list. Robbie McEwen, he does a lot of the cycling commentary for Eurosport nowadays, and he's an incredibly knowledgeable and incredibly experienced cyclist who brings a lot to the party. Chris McCormack, he gets a lot of stuff wrong, but they've got to tolerate him because he's the founder. And Vicky Holland, obviously, depth of knowledge about the multi-sport world is unparalleled from her. So, and then Will's going to be there.
Where did Vicky commentate? I've seen she commentated something.
She's done some commentary for Super League.
Collins Cup. It was Collins Cup. She commentated the Collins Cup.
She did, didn't she?
And she was excellent. Like when I heard Vicky was going to be in the commentary booth, I was like, mate, excellent call. Like Vicky Holland, she's very, very good at this.
She was very good. She was very, very good. And Craig and Will will be the sort of anchors and the basis of the whole thing.
So, interesting fact about Craig Hummer. I'd not heard of him before, but do you know what his background is? Do you know what he normally commentates? This is cool, I think.
I do not, I'm afraid. I wish I did at this point.
Bullfighting. No, bull riding. Not fighting, bull riding. Yeah.
Really?
Blimey. Yeah. Like,
well, I mean...
I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm talking about like you think of the commentary of it, the way those guys commentate those events, it's pretty epic. Like, have you ever watched those clips?
It was only 3 days ago I was having a conversation with somebody about bull riding and how I think I'd be a brilliant bull rider.
I mean, mate, I'm pretty sure you'd be able to ride a big sweaty beast with no problems whatsoever.
I think if there's one thing that my select set of skills is made for, it's clinging on,
holding on for an annoyingly long time where you're just trying to get rid of you and you can't. With that cowboy hat you wore everywhere in St. George, mate, I can see it. I can see it very clearly, and you'd have Craig Hummer as the commentator over the top of it. Somebody photoshopped that an image of James Bell's face. I'm going to do that. I'm going to put together a photo of that. But some start times, because this is the other thing people probably want to know is what time is going to happen in their time zone. So it's kicking off at 6:30 in Germany is when the swim
6:30
starts.
in Germany, yeah. So there's a social media post up by Phoenix Life on Instagram, which sort of takes us to your key time zones and where it's going to start. 5:30 in London because we're an hour behind Europe, and Beijing 12:30, Singapore 12:30, New York midnight, Los Angeles 9:30 in the evening. It's quite the spread, but wherever you are, whenever you wake up, you're going to get the opportunity to watch some of this, or you could properly invest and just get up and watch the whole thing.
Commit like I would.
Yeah.
Commit like Tim. Be like Tim Ford. Commit. Set yourself up for the 8 hours of broadcast. Because the other thing that's interesting is 6:30 the women start, and then there's an hour until the men start. With the idea being that they want everybody to try to finish roughly
within a margin of error of each other, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's going to be cool.
It is going to be very cool. I think the broadcast is going to be. I know, and I'm in the same boat at the moment. I'm kind of, edging towards that departure time, and it's going to be. I've got to repack. I've only just unpacked, if I'm honest. It took me long enough to unpack from America. I'm like, oh. Anyway,
I'm away for like a month, so I got to pack a month's worth of stuff. It's actually a nightmare. Because I'm going my 2 weeks in Girona. It's going to be awesome. This next one, mate, you put in here, and it's so long that I'm going to allow you to take the lead and cherry pick because I don't want to go through the whole thing. It's too long.
Yeah, that's fine. Try 24/7. John Levison had an interview with Laura Philipp, or she put a video up on her YouTube channel and they cherry pick some stuff. So we're going to cherry pick off the back of them cherry picking. Laura Philipp says she must be patient as she continues her recovery from COVID-19 infection that ruled her out of the Ironman World Championship. Philipp, who was number one in the PTO's rankings before St. George, has not yet confirmed when she will return to racing, but said the year's second World Championship in Kona will be her focus. COVID has left her with a high fever and bedridden for 3 days, but stressed she was progressing well. Of course, I'm super hungry to race because I had this huge block of training over the last months leading up to the World Championships that I couldn't race. Right now, it feels so wrong for me to go back to training and do another big training block. I want to race. Probably the next training sessions will be good and the numbers come back, and then maybe I get to go and race. It's very likely you'll see my name on many start. It's very it's very likely you'll see my name when he start this at the moment. That's because there's no way to do a late entry. It's very unlikely. I think that's meant to say unlikely. Um, this doesn't mean I will race all these races, but I will decide very spontaneously if I will race.
No, what she's
So,
saying is, so the pro setup is you can enter all the races because they don't pay for their races.
yeah.
So
So
I'm
she's
guessing
going to
she's
enter
just
a
signed
load,
up
and
for
then
every single one. And then if she
that's
can
it.
do any of them, she'll do them. Otherwise, she just won't do them, I guess is what she means.
Yeah, exactly. So she'll be. Thank you for course correcting me there, mate. I was digging myself into a hole.
That's what I'm here for, mate.
Um, Yeah, so from the moment she decided she wasn't going to travel to the US, the symptoms really hit her hard. Apparently, she got a high fever and a headache and couldn't leave the bed for 2 or 3 days.
Wow.
So she had to face that she wouldn't be racing in St. George. And she says, I'm still super frustrated and sad about it. This was my big goal. And it felt like with a challenging course and wetsuit swim and hilly bike and hilly run that I could have been my chance of having a really strong performance. I felt ready for it and I had to let go of a big goal and dream. Maybe the positive is that this year we'll have 2 chances. There will be another second World Championship in Kona, hopefully in October, and this is the big goal I'm working for now. She also revealed the impact of COVID has had on her, saying overall it took me 8 or 9 days before my test turned out negative again. After that, I started to move a little bit, but I just went on some big easy walks with the dogs. As soon as I started to walk a bit faster, or when there was an uphill section, I really got out of breath. I mean, this is something we've been hearing a lot from a lot of people, is that you can start testing negative, but still get symptoms and issues. And we're just hoping that it doesn't continue like that for her and that she can, get back to some serious training. She says, I take this COVID infection very seriously because I know many athletes and other people who've had quite some damage coming out of the infection, also some heart muscle infections. This is definitely something you can end your career or your life. I'm very careful. I listen to my body a lot. Philipp will have a lung function test and ECG as she continues to monitor her health, but there have been some positive signs. She said, after week 3, I can say I feel a lot more normal. So that means less fatigue and I have hardly any headaches. My heart rate has come down a lot, so it looks like normal, but when I also missed nearly 3 weeks of training, so it definitely has an impact. I feel less fit, of course, but my goal is to get back to training slowly but surely. Now, I just wanted to put this in because it shows the real world impact that getting COVID still has on these athletes. It's a roll of the dice as to how it's going to affect you and how you feel afterwards. We've both been through it, and we both had quite different kind of journeys through COVID, didn't we? And each athlete, someone like Laura Philipp, who was at number 1 in the PTO World Ranking, going into St. George as one of the favourites, suddenly is staring down the barrel of a very different next few months.
Yeah, definitely. I was about to sort of compare my own personal experiences with a little bit because so my coach is Charles Barclay, and when we got the positive, and he was like, "Mate, nothing." And then after, because I was fine, like I didn't even know I really had it, and I did a run, like just a jog, and my heart rate was like through the roof. Like I think 160 something average for like a very easy run. I was like, okay, and I think so. I backed off a bit, and so it was like a week after I tested negative. I felt pretty good, and I'm still really careful. I'm watching my heart rate a lot, and the thing I check a lot is because my heart rate goes up when I do hard in, because I think I'm not fit at the moment because of the break. But it comes down very quickly too, which I think is a good sign. And I think you have to be really careful. And I was talking with Joe Skipper about this today. I was meant to be racing this weekend in Poland with Joe, and I decided not to. And it was because I'd heard athletes like Joe and that say, like, you've got to be careful coming out of this. And I think it's actually this is a thing where you do need to be overly cautious. And Laura Philipp, again, I think she's being smart. I think we're going to see the rewards for that later on in the year, because I think we're going to see her doing some pretty impressive stuff later this year, because she's a class athlete, mate.
Yeah, exactly, and we'll see her climbing back up those rankings eventually. I think she's an amazing athlete. So good luck to her. Good luck on your recovery.
Yeah, now there was another race that happened, but again, I didn't watch this race. I don't really follow it, and I don't really know many of the names on the list so much. But this is a race that I know is very close to your heart, mate. Do you want to go into it too much, or do you just want to go through the results, or what are your thoughts about Lanzarote?
I think we'll have a quick chat. I think maybe we just go through the results, shall we? Because Lanzarote is a race that I particularly enjoy. I've done it. I did it in
what sort of tri-suit were you wearing when you did it, mate?
I wore an all-white tri-suit, mate. It was
some would say that you're a trendsetter for the
one of the greatest sartorial choices I've ever made. Do you want to read out the men's results and I'll read out the women's
Yeah,
results
I
for
mean,
this
not
one?
particularly. I think I'll take the women, mate. You can take the men. How's that sound?
I'll hang on a second. On the women's side, Lydia Dant came
You
first with
bastard.
309.56. Els Visa came second in 306.21, and E Corridori came third in 311.56. So it was a it was,
3:11:56. I think you've got their run times there, mate, not their
oh
actual
yeah,
race times.
yeah,
You took the
bloody
easy
hell.
option. You still fucked it.
This is yeah, I have. This mate, I'm full of cold. I'm full of cold. So Lydia Dant won in 9:37.26, and it was a British winner on the women's side, and it was her first full distance race. After winning a number of races as an age grouper, she turned pro late last year, and this was her first full distance. She's gone and taken first place in Lanzarote, and I love that. I love that about our sport, that the transition from amateur to pro is so visible and so clear cut, and yeah, brilliant. Well done. Really, really good work, Lydia.
Well, allow me to take the men's, mate. I'll do the heavy lifting on this podcast, as I
Yeah, you
so
do that.
often
Yeah.
have to do.
I'm intrigued as to how this is going to go because I don't know how to say that.
The men's winner in 8:39:56 from the great nation of Belgium was Kenneth Vandendrijch. Second place, Matthias Peterson from Denmark. And in third place, Philipp Bulk from Germany in 8:51:13. Sorry, their times 8:39:56 for the winner, 8:42:45 for second, 8:51:13 for third. Down the bottom of that list is Bart Arnold's 909. I believe Bart was in St. George, maybe DNF St. George. So
Yeah.
back there, backing up. Yeah. How would you pronounce? How did I do with that last name of the winner?
You did well. You did well. I'd have.
Oh yeah, that's about how you pronounce it. I think it's not far off.
I would have used more syllables than you did because I'd have got myself in a mess.
Vandendrijch. I think that's pretty good.
Vandendrijch. Yeah, I'd have gone Vandendendrijch, and I'd have put.
You've added one. You would have added another one.
Added a syllable. So no, well done on that, and great work. Both of them. With Lydia taking her debut long course win, and Van der Drijch taking his first Ironman title. So a day of firsts on that at that race. Great race. Everybody should go and do Ironman Lanzarote, including you, Tim.
I don't do Ironmans, mate. It's again, from what I hear, it's like the hardest Ironman in the world. So if I'm going to do one, I'm going to Copenhagen, mate. I'm not going to go out and kill myself on day one. Although a special shout out to a mate of mine, Chris Weeks, one of his age group there. So well done, Chris. He's a gun athlete, trains in Phuket with Jürgen Zach, works like trains like a mad dog. So really, really good. Well done, Chris. Trains with Imogen Simmons, one of her
Nice
training partners. So well
cool.
done.
Ideal.
What's next, Jimbo?
Welcome to the down low on the PTO. So Lisa Bentley and Simon Whitfield have been named as official hosts for the PTO Canadian Open. Between them, Bentley and Whitfield have won pretty much every honor the sport has to offer. Lisa is an 11-time Ironman champion, and Simon a double Olympic champion, amongst a plethora of other achievements and accolades. Speaking on her appointment, Bentley said, "I leapt at the chance to be a host for the PTO Canadian Open, or official cheerleader, as I like to call it. It's such a big deal for the first ever PTO Open event to be staged in Canada. Having seen it firsthand, the impact of the World Triathlon Championship being hosted in Vancouver, Edmonton, and Moscow over the years, I know a positive catalyst they can have to grow the sport, encourage the next generation, but also encourage the local community. I can't wait to welcome the world to Edmonton." Last year, the two were named as the first ever captains for Team International at the inaugural $1 million Collins Cup, the Ryder Cup style event introduced by the PTO in 2021 as part of a new series of high-profile, prize money global events. This time around, they'll be tasked with official hosting duties that will include ensuring the age group athletes have a great build-up and then best-in-class race day experience, engaging stakeholders such as corporate sponsors and VIP receptions to elevate these programs, and leading working sessions on triathlon development in the community. Sam Renouf was clear on the value the two will add. Lisa and Simon have done so much for triathlon, not just in Canada, but around the world throughout their careers. Victories and inspirational stories, which makes them the ideal dynamic duo to play energetic and welcoming host to this new event. Whitfield said, "Being the captain of Team International at the Collins Cup last year gave me a real taste of what the PTO is trying to do to elevate and grow our wonderful sport. Like Lisa, I feel privileged that the first PTO event open will be held on our home turf, and I'm convinced that Edmonton will do the country crowd. Bring it on."
James, At the start of it, you were talking about these two have between them won nearly everything in the sport, and it made me think back to something that I saw on social media recently, and this was in response to a certain photo that you may have posted to rub in my face the fact that you got that finisher photo with Christian and I didn't. And a user called Kent Cluster Hotels put up the response to your photo saying, between them, these two have won Olympic gold, Ironman World Champs, the WTCS, and hold the Ironman World Record. And I thought that was possibly the best tweet I've seen this year. That made me actually belly laugh, like very,
Yeah,
very good.
it made me chuckle as well. I enjoyed that one. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah,
So
Edmonton.
yeah, it's great to see. Edmonton is going to be the Canadian Open kicks off the PTO tour and be followed this year by the second edition of the Collins Cup. So the first US Open is on the 17th, 18th September. Collins Cup on the 20th, 21st of August. Each open event carrying a minimum prize purse of $1 million and raced over 100 kilometers with a 2K swim, 80-kilometer bike, and an 18-kilometer run. So Edmonton's going to open things up, and
When is it?
I mean, I'm not entirely sure. I thought the date was there, but it's not. If you want to just have a little witter on about how good the commentary team is, I will.
The
I
commentary
will
team at
find out.
one of the things I was so we saw the video come up. I know that Joe is planning on racing the Edmonton race this year, and I think I think we sort of spoke about this a fair bit. Like, it's good to see that the pros are starting to select these races over others. I mean, when there's literally $1 million prize purses at these events, you can understand why. But I wanted to sort of take a slight detour here because this was something that we were talking in the MX group this week about the pro.
23rd, 24th of July. Carry on.
Oh, shit, it said soon then.
Yeah, so it's just about 2 months away.
Wow. Okay.
Mm.
Interesting. Because I saw Joe's racing it and I thought he was taking some time off because he's getting married. But what I thought was an interesting. This is a discussion about the MX group, and I think we can sort of leave. This is, I think, what I have said it 1,000 times in this podcast. I think what the PTO does is fantastic. But we were discussing the Pro Am and the MX group the other day, and one of the things we were talking about was like the impact. This is, they're not obviously didn't commit everything to the Pro Am. They're trying. We're seeing that these are going to be their marquee events this year, the PTO Tour events and the Collins Cup. And what I was starting to say is what concerns me a little bit, or what I'm starting to wonder about is if the PTO keep putting these races on with these huge prize purses and fail to make a return, and we see the athletes start to neglect the Ironman and the challenge races because they're going to these races and getting the big prize money, but the PTO fail to make a return, and at some point the PTO go, this is a lost endeavor. We can't just keep handing out money without getting something back, and they decide to stop. And challenge and the Ironman have like, well, I mean, we even heard Andrew Messick at the press conferences and George saying prize money sort of like we see the PTO, like we'll let the PTO worry about the prize money. I'm concerned what that gap could mean for the sport if suddenly these big prize events go away and Ironman a challenge are gone, oh, well, pros don't want to race our events for $15,000 anymore, so we're not going to even bother with them. That's a scenario that worries me a little bit.
Are you seeing a long-term negative impact on the sport despite best efforts and an immediate return? But then, like you say, if the PTO, I mean, but that's
maybe
the risk of all
unintended
things.
consequence, maybe an unintended thing that maybe I don't. I mean, I fucking hope this isn't me going, I reckon this is going to happen. I pray to God it doesn't. But it was just something I was like, shit, what happens if this, again, you can't help it. How many times have we seen these things come in the sport and vanish? And I don't know.
You're right. But I mean, the risk of all things is that it might not work. Doesn't mean you should try it.
Definitely. I completely agree with that sentiment. And I just hope, like, I kind of want, I still feel like we need to find some sort of balance where the PTO events can exist, Ironman events can exist. Like, we need more. And I know that that's not the PTO. I mean, we got in a lot of trouble when we called one of the episodes something that was a bit controversial. I know that that's definitely not what they're trying to do. I don't know, like it's almost like it's too good. And I know that's, again, a weird thing to say because I want the pros to make a lot of money, but it's like maybe we need to, I don't know how to do it. I don't know the answer. Again, it's just something that I was thinking about. So,
and how the PTO is going to make money at some point intrigues me.
Yeah.
Because at some point they do need to. I think they're still in that period where they're trying to capture the audience and capture the sport for what it is. And once they get that and the sport does become a very broadcastable, very digestible thing that people tend to watch, that's when you start to get big sponsors and big broadcast partners involved, and you start to make a return on things like that. So I'm not. You're right. If the PTO exists for 5 years, put a huge amount of money into prize purses, the pros shift over to racing PTO races and predominantly PTO races because that's where they're making a huge living from. And then the PTO just goes poof and disappears. There would be a void left of like, oh shit, what do we do now? It's an interesting topic and probably one that we need to discuss with them at some point as to what their long-term plans are. But I mean, we're both going to be in Slovakia for the Collins Cup. The PTO are giving us a platform there where we can base the podcast and do interviews. So one of those interviews should probably be with Mr. Sam Renouf.
Well, I was going to say, I know Sam listens to this podcast. So Sam, just get out your checkbook. You can write this check out to Tim and James at the MX Endurance Podcast because I've got the idea. And it may or may not be in response to some tweets that I've been dealing with this week. I want to see Draft Legal Ironman. That's what I want to see. I want to see team Draft Legal Ironman racing, a team around Patrick Lang, a team around Jan Frodeno, a team around Lionel Sanders, a team around Alistair Brownlee, and then in the women's, Danny, Kat, Laura, Lucy. And
also, when they do their pro-am races, they need to get real celebrities like Tim Ford and James Bale.
I heard again. I mean, obviously James Bale, Tim Ford does. I'm a nothing compared to you, mate. I'm aware of my position, much lower on the celebrity ring than yours. But again, I heard whispers. I think it was somebody said that Talbot Cox was talking about this on another podcast where they engaged some agency who promised them like Will Ferrell and Jim Carrey and all these guys. So like, yeah, awesome, we'll do it. And it's like such an American LA thing, isn't it? Like promised in the world and then just couldn't follow through on it. So I think, again, I don't think that's their fault at all. I think they got misled. But yeah, there's the idea, Sam. So when that works and it's amazing and everybody stops complaining about the drafting because they realize it's actually going to create an incredible dynamic and the race is over really quickly. So it's not this 24-hour ordeal. I'll just take, I don't know, what do you reckon, James? $1 million? It's a pretty good number. They're giving it away, so we'll get $1 million. And
yeah, I think 50-50 on $1 million would do us, wouldn't it?
I think that's reasonable. It's a good fee. That's basically our day rate. So
Jim Carrey, eh? Jim Carrey?
He was never going to do a triathlon. He was literally never going to do a triathlon.
We're cut from the same cloth, me and Jimmy boy.
Oh yeah, so you don't want to do it. I mean, you don't have the mad beard or the. Anyway.
Humor.
You've definitely got the humor. You've definitely, mate. You've got everything else you have. It's just that. It's the beard, I think. James Bale, as I said at the start of the episode, we are heading to sub next week, and we are going to be working hard. And a big part of what we're going to be doing is getting content for our MX Endurance members. So if you want to get some of that content and you want to support the podcast, we rely on the support of you guys to get to these events. We're trying to get to Kona. We want to get to we got to St. George, paid for ourselves to go to St. George. The way to get us to these races to do coverage is to go to mxendurance.com/podcast. The other thing I was going to say, even if you don't want to join the podcast membership, we've got a Discord channel. I'm going to actually open the Discord channel up, James, to anybody who wants to join. It's not the main Facebook thing or whatever. It doesn't have access to the whatever, but I think it'll be a good community. If you like the podcast and you want to come join the Discord and you can discuss things with us, we can have discussions. I think Discord's a great platform that a lot of people are now using. Shoot us a message. You've got James will say it at the end and we'll add you to the Discord. But yeah, if you want to get all the benefits, you want to support the podcast, partner discounts, all sorts of stuff, bonus content. We record episodes with Chris every month. Head to mxendurance.com/podcast. It's $3.40 a month if you sign up for an annual plan, or $10 a month if you want to go monthly. You get all the past episodes. We've done like 20 of them now, and they're all pretty evergreen.
Must be fairly due, isn't it? A bonus episode with Chris. We record it.
We're going to do it. We're going to do it in. The three of us will do it in St. George next week with again maybe some special guests. That's what I mean, mate. We're going to have all this exclusive member content. We'll probably try to do it live too. We'll probably try to stream it in the Facebook community so the members can actually watch.
Fuck it, we'll do it live. Do it live, man. Fuck it.
Well, James, if they want to find out those sort of things, like where we do it live or other things about MX Endurance, where do they need to go?
If you want to find out more about MX Endurance, head to mxendurance.com or search MX Endurance on Facebook or at MX Endurance on Twitter or Instagram. If you want to follow me, I'm at bale.james85 on Instagram, or you can follow Tim at tford14 on Instagram. Jump onto iTunes, give the show a review. You can do it in the podcast app. Really helps us out, and it's super easy. We haven't had a review for ages, so come on, step up. If you like what we're doing, tell a friend, help us grow the podcast. If you've got any questions, suggestions, guests, comments, or you want to join the Discord, send an email to podcast@mxendurance.com.
James Bale, a pleasure as always. Again, next time we're doing this, it's in person, baby. You're going to have to keep my hands off your ass, as we established last week. Can't wait. Not for the ask, but for recording in person. We'll be in Germany. Sub 7 is literally just over a week away, mate. I'm amped for it. I'm really, really excited for this. So it's going to
It's
be cool.
going to be a good week, eh? Bring on the
Again,
content.
as who knows, you might hear a few junkyard dogs around the place. Who knows?
Maybe.
Maybe. Talk to you guys later.
Take care.